I'm Lauren Chantal and I'm going to be chatting to you about colour trends for architecture and interior design, and I'll be presenting on behalf of Plascon. The biggest trend to affect interiors and architecture is definitely natural immersion, and I think this is easy to understand. What with the COVID lockdowns and us being trapped inside our homes for extended periods of time, we became disconnected from the earth. So now that we're out and about again, this very deep need to feel reconnected, not only with the earth, but with each other, is driving a lot of change in how we live and how we build.
What's interesting about colour trends for architecture and interior design is that they tend to move a lot more slowly than fashion trends. Fashion trends can change from season to season, while with architecture and interior design, in the case of a home renovation, it's more likely that the homeowner will want to change colours every 2 to 3 years. In the case of a new build, you can obviously start with an entirely fresh palette, but that is a cycle that changes a lot more slowly than seasonality. So what we've done for you is that we've looked at the larger macro trends, the ones that are going to affect us for a long period of time. And the trends we'd like to highlight for you are natural immersion, a big wellness reset or the age of well-being, hybridity, humanization, and the era of immersion. The natural immersion trend covers clay and chalk, shades of brown, African earth, biophilia, the inside-outside shift, green forest, organicism, and an ode to the ocean.
I'd like to talk about a trend called down to earth. The down to earth trend, as its name says, is very much derived from the colours of the earth. But this palette is not a very intense or deep palette, it is more a bleached, washed out, very gentle monotone. So yes, beiges are back and they're gentle and calming. If you think about challenging colours like reds, they're definitely not part of this palette. After a time of intense challenge and personal change and work change and global change, we want something that's very soothing and very down to earth. Down to earth is very much influenced by the shapes we find in nature. So think curvaceous, organic forms, soft, rounded lines, curves and sinuous forms. All of these shapes are finding their place in architecture today.
With more time spent indoors than ever before, we're all seeking to strengthen our connection with nature. This has inspired the use of colour in its natural form. Think clay, chalk, stoneware, terracotta, marble, and travertine. These soft hues are used anywhere from backsplashes to bathtubs, furniture and surfaces, to the interior and exterior of walls. The imperfect and porous nature of these organic materials in their raw form adds depth, visual intrigue, and a soul element, all the while replicating the calm and restorative ambiance of the outdoors. Key insights for the down-to-earth trend are that natural tones positively affect us. They give us a sense of harmony, reminiscent of the earth, sand, desert, iron, and rust. These slightly cooler tones have warm hues. This aesthetic consists of sand, soil, and clay tones with just a touch of natural green, which brings a little bit of nature into this cozy palette. These light colors are very effective as accents.
There's a rising trend to embrace different shades of brown, and this goes as far as a very deep chocolate. And the reason for this has to do with the changes that we're experiencing around us. If you think about the last time chocolate brown was in fashion, that would have been the 70s. And the 70s was a time of great social upheaval. If you think about protests against the war in Vietnam, the rising gay rights movement, and very strong feminism, we can correlate that to today, where we have Extinction Rebellion, climate change activism, and gender fluidity. So we can understand why brown is having another moment in the sun, and why it is again soothing and calming and very much representative of the earth. If that deep brown is maybe a little bit too dull for you, just remember how beautifully it sparkles if you combine it with jewel-like colors.
Key insights for shades of brown is that brown was first made popular in the 1970s during a time of social upheaval and uncertainty, when people were seeking comfort in their home spaces, much like now. All shades of brown are making a comeback, from deep, rich chocolates to elegant caramels. These colors are easily paired with other neutrals, jewel-like tones, and primary colors, making them very versatile. Shades of brown provide a grounding, earthy look in a way that is both calm and timeless.
The African earth trend is wonderful for our context. We have this incredible heritage of things like mud cloths, where we literally use the ground, the soil, the earth around us to give us tints and hues. But this is finding new cachet. So if you remember the safari chic trend of the early 90s, this is being re-embraced today, but with the tactility of weaving. The wonderful thing about weaving is that no two weavers have the same tension, and no woven item is the same as any other. So this brings a wonderful uniqueness into interiors, and weaving is being embraced in different ways. So think of it not only as a way to accessorize with softs, but also as treatments for walls and for ceilings.
The African earth trend allows us to embrace our roots with earthy and handmade elements. Woven into this palette are strong and warm hues like gingery browns and dark muddy charcoals. Key insights from this trend include the fact that by decorating with African-inspired elements, we are incorporating artisanal warmth into our spaces. Through these colors, we create a connection with natural values in combination with the beautiful cultures and history of Africa.
Biophilia embraces nature as the master architect and looks at ways, for example, that trees splay their leaves, or at how the rays of the sun move across the facade of a building during the day to come up with unique design solutions for the built environment. It's not just putting a pot plant in your bathroom, but it's embracing entire planted arrays within the home. So you could think about a tree being planted in the center of a dining room table, or a sunken atrium right in the middle of the living room.
Nature is calling. The biophilic trend focuses on green foliage elements with lots of breathing space. Not only does it take inspiration from botanical trends, but it produces a cacophony of bold green tones that are perfect for bathrooms and living spaces alike. When it comes to biophilic design, it isn't just about the visible, tangible elements, it's about all of the senses. The key insights for biophilia show us that connecting inside and outside in a seamless way is a growing trend for now and beyond. The jungle trend and the call of nature have very much been heard in the design world. The tendency to search for sustainable designs, organic materials, shapes, and colors inspired by the greatest artist, nature, has become more popular with big and small brands. The concept takes having a green thumb to the next level by increasing connectivity to the natural environment.
Green forest is an important shift for us. We know that emerald green has been fashionable for quite some time now, but remember that emerald green has a lot of blue in it. The greens we're seeing now tend more towards the ochre and the yellow. In other words, they're coming a little bit closer to earth than that emerald, which is a little bit closer to sky. And the shift with greens now is not just using a green on its own, but layering different greens together. So you can run all the way from pistachio and sage through to your very deep khakis and very, very strong emerald greens. The newness comes in how you combine them today.
Green forest is reminiscent of lush meadows and the serene outdoors. It's the perfect foundational colour for a relaxing, calming environment. To bring green walls to life, add texture with leafy palms or succulents, contrast with terracotta furnishings, and add metallic finishes such as gold and brass to make everything pop. The more texture you can add, the better. So don't be afraid to indulge in tactile rugs, cushions, and throws.
The outside-inside trend is wonderful for our climate. We're very fortunate here in the Southern Hemisphere to not experience the extremes of winter. We don't really get too much snow unless we're living close to the mountains. So that gives us a lot of opportunity to embrace the outdoors inside our homes. And I'm not merely talking about patios or verandas. I'm talking about new interstitial spaces, landscape zones, where the inside of the house bleeds right out into the garden and vice versa.
This really invites you to bring the outdoors in. Add greenery to complement a natural wood tone, or add shades of green for the feeling of zen. Greenery indoors also helps purify the air. We expect muted contrasts for interior design trends. Greens and pastels or tinted shades, for instance, refresh an interior without dominating the look. A shade of green emerging from your natural base is a good way to add a subtle pop of colour. Nature-led colours are key for nailing interior design trends, and the hottest hue is going to be green. Look to green wall coverings and wall paints. Deep emerald is still hot, but multiple shades will come into play, including earthy, herbal, or vegetable tones like sage, as well as hues on the green-blue spectrum for an oceanic touch. Mixing different greens to create an organic story will be popular, and houseplants will remain centre stage.
Organic colours are really starting to pique our interest. We refer to these as edible colours because they're derived from, for example, spinach or beetroot or onion skin. Of course, this is fantastic for natural dyeing things like fabrics. But should you want to use these colours as a wall treatment, I really recommend a paint like Plascon's Double Velvet Pure with a formaldehyde abatement. This is a revolutionary coating because what it does is that it abates the formaldehyde that's present in your home from things like cleaning products or even the sponge material that's used to upholster couches, and it converts that into clean oxygen, making the air in your home much more breathable. Better for you, better for your family, but better for your walls. And you can layer that in soft washes of colour to get that edible effect.
The use of organic materials is on the rise. This trend has been led by social media, especially with crazes such as rug making, embroidery, furniture hacks and upcycles, and vegetable dip dyes. The colours are inspired by food that the earth gives us, particularly vegetables and fruits, described as edible colours. Interior designers are looking to create spaces that feel natural and comfortable, but with a modern twist. Rather than using traditional materials like wood or stone, organic elements are becoming more popular choices. Architects have begun using bamboo floors instead of carpeting, while others use clay tiles over concrete walls. This trend will continue because it is versatile across different types of buildings, from commercial projects to residential homes. Using organic materials is a significant step in interior design because it allows buildings to become more sustainable.
An ode to the ocean. So we know that ocean awareness is really peaking now, and there are many reasons for that. There seem to be more NPOs involved with beach cleanups, ocean cleanups, and river estuary cleanups than ever before. And this is because we've realized that we're coming to a tipping point when it comes to preserving the ocean. If we think about water and its importance, we can't live for 3 days without it. Our bodies are approximately the same ratio of water as the planet is to land mass to ocean. So the ocean is the key to all of our life. And it's understandable then that there is a lot of movement now to preserve and conserve our ocean as our primary asset, and why the beautiful blue tones of the ocean are finding their way into our homes and onto the exteriors of our buildings.
Many interior designers are using blue, not only for its elegant symbolism, but also for the increasing awareness of ocean preservation. Water is a key element in interiors. It contributes to achieving wellness. Ocean animals such as whales are becoming icons of kiddies-themed bedrooms. It reflects a growing desire to protect our planet's waters. The age of well-being, or the well-being reset, combines the notion of a sanctuary with wabi-sabi Zen.
It feels as though we have truly entered the age of well-being. It's been many years since we started referring to bathrooms as sanctuaries, but now, post-pandemic, we really have a heightened awareness of our health and well-being. This is encouraging embracing different spaces in the home for this. So spaces where you can do yoga, or extended bathroom areas where you can practice wellness rituals. This also extends beyond the domestic environment into the hospitality environment, and this is a very big trend in lodges, spas and hotels. This deepened focus on the sanctuary is combined with the notion of wabi-sabi Zen. So wabi-sabi means the perfection within imperfection, where this element of Japanese minimalism combines with spirituality, and this all dovetails beautifully into the sense of wellness that we are looking at today. As you might imagine, these sanctuary spaces embrace gentle monotones and unchallenging colors, but we're also seeing not just neutrals, but blushes of pink. And I think this makes perfect sense, because that pink color relates to the heart chakra, or the heart space, and that is a color that really engenders healing. So of course it would be very appropriate for a wellness space. Like the other trends we highlighted earlier, sanctuary spaces also embrace organic forms and bleached colorways. This is easy to understand. They need to be spaces that offer relaxation, that make people feel safe, and that make people feel calm. And these are really good pointers if you're designing spaces like this, whether within your own home or for a hospitality client. The furniture in these spaces is also chunky and comforting and takes its cue from nature. There's a lot of asymmetry, and there are no straight walls. Rather, arches, curved walls, textured forms, and textures in upholstery and softs really create a warm, cocooning space.
Soft neutrals and muted tones have a naturally calming effect and bring a sense of mindfulness and clarity into a space. As we've endured the ebb and flow of the pandemic, we found ourselves searching for different and improved sources of solitude and peace, whether it's a curated nook or even an entire room devoted to personal interests and self-reflection. For some, it's a sunny poolside reading bench. For others, it's a meditation spot in which to be fully present. There's an emphasis on multifaceted wellness: mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual. Key insights for sanctuary show us that we need to provide beautiful spaces with natural light and a focus on great sleep, hydration, exercise, and mindfulness. Sanctuaries range from home gym spaces to kitchens, bathrooms, or even bedroom updates. Creating reassuring backdrops allow the person sitting in the room to readjust to constant change.
The wabi-sabi Zen trend is not to be denied.
The desire for tactile experiences is reflected in design, with the use of natural fibers and materials such as raw timber, unstructured linen, and textured stone. Furniture is chunky and comforting, with curves that follow the lines of the body. These are accessorized with simple handmade and crafted decor pieces in interesting and often imperfect shapes. Detailing throughout is kept to a minimum with a focus on form and function. Key insights for Wabi Sabi Zen. This is a trend that is inspired by natural elements such as wood and clay while incorporating the ideology of minimalism. Year on year, there's been a 100% increase in the number of searches on Google for the term Wabi Sabi, and there are over 1.2 million Wabi Sabi hashtag posts on Instagram. Japandi is a mix of Japanese and Scandinavian interior decor. This was one of Pinterest's top 10 predictions this year and has been seen throughout high street home collections such as H&M and Zara. Marie Kondo's KonMari method is sparking joy for minimal Japanese home aesthetics.
And just in case you thought everything was too monotone, remember to use those pops of yellow. And this isn't the acid yellow of 2014. This is a wonderful ochre, burnt butter, pumpkin-y kind of yellow that's a little bit closer to the color of sand. And there's a reason we're craving that yellow color right now. And I believe this has to do with the human energetic system. So if you think about the solar plexus, there's a reason why it's called the solar plexus. The word solar comes from sol, which refers to the sun. But in the human energetic system or even the yoga system, the solar plexus is colored yellow. In physiology and anatomy, there is a collection of nerves that cluster in this part of the body, and they look like a sun, and that is why it's called the solar plexus. So just remember, you have a little sun inside your body. But the reason that this is relevant now is because this chakra in the body is associated with empowerment. It's enabling. It's about being in the world and being powerful. And just remember, lockdown was very disempowering. We weren't allowed to go anywhere. We weren't able to do what we want. And now we've moved into a time where people are reclaiming their power. And that's why yellow is so needed now. And that's why people are so excited. And that's why they're wearing the color and using the color. So it's a really, really good color to use for public spaces, to even use in spaces like bars and cafes. This yellow is muddy and warm. It injects optimism, but at the same time, it stays safely on the side of sophistication. So it's a color that can travel. You can use it in a bedroom, you can use it in a lounge, you can use it in a fun play park. It's a really versatile color, and it's one that's going to make people feel cheerful and happy.
This shade is a burnt golden yellow orange that tells the tale of a summer afternoon. It's a story of simple pleasures and carefree living, and it adds instant warmth to any space. But there's longevity in an ochre or brownish palette because it can transition seamlessly from summery to autumnal, giving you a year-round color that delights the senses. This muddy yellow injects an infusion of sunshine while remaining on the right side of sophistication.
Digital lavender and lilac are major trending colors for many reasons. They've really been taken up by a younger generation, and for me, there are a lot of reasons for that. Lilac and lavender derive from amethyst, which is the crystal associated with the crown and the third eye in the human body. And that has to do with enlightenment, with awareness, with higher consciousness. And we can really say that the younger generations of today embrace all forms of being in a very enlightened way. And you can understand why this color resonates with them. Lilac and lavender sit between blue and pink and purple and are neither. And they move quite fluidly up and down that color scale. So you can see why they're also a color that is very relatable to a generation that is exploring gender fluidity in a very accepting way.
Once the pariahs of the interior design world, there is now a more welcoming attitude towards undertones of violet and purple. Digital lavender is predicted to be dominant all the way through to 2023. Neither purple, nor pink, nor blue, it embodies the dopamine brights trend that has been peaking across industries as we navigate towards a post-COVID world.
We're also seeing a lot of pops of color. This really reminds me of the 80s, and I think there's a good reason for that. In the 80s, it was the first time that technology was taken up in music, and we had the advent of synth pop. It was the first time in the history of music that computers were used to program songs. This was very new technology, and you had bands calling themselves the New Romantics. And I see a similar way that we are engaging with technology in terms of 3D, AR, and VR. And I think that these pops of color that remind us of the 80s take us back to a time we were using color to cope with radical changes in technology. Strong color definitely has its place in architecture. If you think about Mexican architect Louis Barragan, for example. But today we're seeing lots of interesting new color being applied to facades, anything from deep pink to those vibrant ochres we've already mentioned.
Bright colors evoke memories of carefree days and help us imagine new possibilities. There is a celebration and acknowledgement of joy and inspiration. You can create a dreamy and sentimental feeling using playful, summery 1980s-inspired colors. Using fresh and unexpected color combinations will emphasize the whimsical nature of this look. Colors carry hope and optimism. This is expressed through fresh and bright yellows and greens with uplifting lavenders, creating an energetic palette full of playfulness. It's all about unleashing upbeat creativity and giving new color combinations a chance. Use active brights and vibrant hues of encouraging colors like turquoise and green, happy sun-filled yellows, shades of uplifting lavender, and saturated blues. This is rounded out by juicy orange. Orange in all its forms, from spiced peach to amber and dusty coral, will be making its way into our homes and workplaces. Artworks, soft furnishings, and a statement chair or sofa can be ways to experience the trend, or paint a feature wall, which is due to make a comeback.
The term millennial pink has become quite commonplace, but it's very interesting to think about millennials at this moment in time because they're 38 years old, they're almost middle-aged. But millennial pink has matured just as they have, and it's blushed all the way down to lovely rich plum colors and terracotta pinks, and all of these colors will remain in fashion for a good few years to come.
Corals, salmons, and blushing pinks comfort people, making them feel less guilty to indulge. So it's a good color for a kitchen, dining room, or even a cafe. Today's pink has a new contemporary edge thanks to earthy shades like rust and terracotta, which makes pretty pink sing a new sultry tune.
One of the major changes we are seeing is the humanization of public space. Just remember, we've all had a lot of time at home and we're comfortable there. So in order to entice us beyond our borders, public spaces need to offer us experiences that we cannot attain at home.
Our home is our safe harbor, and we do not want to compromise on that feeling when stepping outside. Public spaces such as hospitals, airports, educational facilities, or convention centers will undergo a long due makeover, offering a more homely, more meaningful, and less anonymous layout. Humanizing public design needs to be on private and public agendas. A thoughtful example of how this could look is Foster & Partners' Magdi Yacoub Global Heart Center in Cairo, Egypt. The 300-bed hospital design is set within a lush, verdant landscape and a calming lake that seeks to optimize the overall patient experience and decrease recovery times. It brings together the latest research on biophilia and the positive impact of nature in clinical settings. It employs pioneering collaborative working environments that allow healthcare professionals to give the best care.
Hybridity will continue to remain with us, and by hybridity I mean the sense of us working from home, working a bit from the office, working from a satellite, working from a cafe, working from Bali. We no longer need to work in the same way anymore, and this impacts on architecture and interior design because there have been a lot of moves to create spaces within the home that are designed for work.
Adaptable rooms that can serve more than one purpose are more important than ever. Instead of just turning dining tables into hot desks, there's a growing trend for creating stylish home offices in unexpected and tight spaces. This includes desks under the stairs, a hidden cupboard desk, or a dedicated corner of a room defined by a feature wall. Bold wall details make an area of a room stand out, and this is key in separating the work zone from the time to switch off zone. Given that the home office is here to stay, minimalism is great for encouraging a seamless transition from the designated workspace to the rest of the home. Of course, this doesn't mean you can't have fun with a pop of color too. The office / work from home / satellite / co-working space / third space mix will continue. Dedicated office zones for work at home will not deter from the house's feel. To make the home office feel like home, people are adding bright colors and natural light. To make the office feel like home, corporate spaces are doing the same. Co-working spaces compete for digital nomads by offering superior style and hotel-like amenities.
Futurism is also a very big trend, and by this I mean augmented realities or virtual realities. For the architect, this has a lot of potential. Designing for the metaverse can be very exciting because it allows the architect to not be constrained by engineering. So for example, you needn't design a building that has to remain standing. It can be fantastical. And why this new virtual landscape is exciting for the built environment is because it allows us to break down boundaries and usher in the new.
Blurring the lines between fantasy and reality, 3D artists and studios around the world are creating dreamscapes that imagine new ideal worlds. We've spent the pandemic in virtual spaces, meeting our colleagues, family and friends on Zoom, and NFTs, Bitcoin and the metaverse are now household names. Ironically, in a world that has gone virtual, the importance of real, genuine spaces is drawn into sharper relief. Virtual tours of properties for real estate and architecture and interior design proposals are now being used to attract potential clients who no longer need to be physically present to pore over plans on paper. This trend is expected to continue, and strong and bright textures are to be expected in 3D models. AR capabilities on our phones will increase, and there will be an even bigger push towards virtual reality. This includes lighter, more portable VR devices rather than chunky headsets. And the dimension of virtuality is particularly attractive for architects who no longer need to be bound by the need to build a building that has to stand up. In virtual reality, the invitation to fantasy is strong and real.
So while changes in architecture and interior design move much more slowly than fashion, which can shift every season, it is important to remember that trends do change, and that by taking them up and using them to your advantage, you also are creating buildings that reflect the zeitgeist and that make people feel that they are part of the now.